The pressure on Houston's business leaders is real. AI is rewriting the rules, but the advantages of operating a business out of the Bayou City are unmistakable. Joining us in the studio today is a power player at the center of those conversations. This is HBJ On the Record.
Success is achieved through effective teamwork, whereby each other's strengths are multiplied.
And the sum is truly greater than its parts. Think 1 + 1 = 3. Withem's talented accounting and advisory professionals add value to every client relationship with our dynamic approach to problem solving.
Delivering exponential results through collaboration and trust. Experience the transformative power of Withem, plus you.
That's the power in the plus.
We're excited to welcome to the studio today Danny David, Global Managing Partner for Houston-based law firm Baker Botts, LLP. So Danny, I was surprised to learn that Baker Botts has actually been around longer than Texas itself. When you think about that history, what stands out most to you about the firm's roots in Houston?
185 years as of last year. We've taken an extra lap to celebrate that milestone. And the 186th anniversary doesn't have the same ring to it as 185. Right. It is maybe one of those, the more things change, the more they stay the same. We've seen such incredible evolution in the industries that we are involved in. And it started really with the railroads, and yet it's the same set of questions that our clients need to ask. Who has dealt with the problem that is before us before? Who's really good at the kinds of issues that are important to me? Who's going to make me feel like a priority? And those things don't change, and nor does the special sauce that keep a partnership together for that period of time, in the way that we treat each other, in the way that we collaborate with one another. So culture and client service, they don't change at all. And I think that if you were able to reanimate one of our founders and you brought him to our office, once they got past the initial shock of riding in an elevator, they would see a lot of stuff that would be familiar to them.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. What are some of the familiar things? What are some of the hallmarks, if you would, of Baker Botts that remain from that 185-year-ago start?
I think it comes down to a question that maybe this is a little bit too early in the pod to be earnest, but
never too early.
Never too early. So there is, I think, a mindset out there in the big bad world that lawyers are like Ronin, the samurai sense that they're out there fishing for 6-minute increments to bill. That's never been the case. The lawyers who join us, who grow on our platform, who stick around and contribute to our culture, they're out there chasing something much bigger than a 6-minute increment. They're chasing a opportunity to be heard on the existential questions of our time. And for folks who are listening in, who don't know me, who may be wondering what I took before I got here, let me tell you, it is something that is really energizing, and it renders our firm really unique. It is mission-driven. It's having a thesis around a practice, and it can be in energy, it can be in technology, it can be in power, it can be in digital infrastructure. If you're solving a big problem and you're thinking about it over the long term, and you're spending your leisure time, your family time, your extracurricular time honing your skill set so that you may have something relevant to say to our clients who are in the arena. That is what hasn't changed. That is the purpose-led life that I think the founders from 185 years ago would have seen and would have identified as something that they brought with them to the table too.
So how would you say that long history, that legacy is showing up in how Baker Botts works with Houston businesses, nonprofit communities today?
So maybe two different answers to really a two-part question. I think on one hand, we are working on any given day with both Fortune 500 companies and incubator-stage startups, which I'm so happy are replete, not just in the market that is so important to HBJ, but also globally. And I think that there's just, fixed costs for starting a business are just dramatically lower than they ever have been. Some work in infrastructure and energy, of course, unfortunately, tragically, has a much higher cost profile. But we are ready to receive from a startup working on its first patent or trademark to a multi-billion-dollar deal or dispute. What you raise is secondarily, to me, is so important, and that's the nonprofit community. And we really have, I think, made it a hallmark of success on our platform is to be associated with a community effort or a cause or an organization where public service and community mindedness are important. We think those things go hand in glove. And we want to be excellent in both arenas, and I think we have been for 186 years now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and clearly Houston has been a springboard for Baker Bott's growth. What is it about this city that has made it such a strong launch pad for global expansion?
So you will not find a bigger booster of this city than myself. And I can only speak to my experience. First gen family moves to Houston, and the opportunity is enormous. And I see it, and I see it with my parents, and I see it with my family, and I see it with their friends. There's something spiritual about that. Mm-hmm. And I think the motto of Houston, you could speak about it clinically, about a laissez-faire, regulatory environment that is decidedly pro-entrepreneurial, pro-business. But I think you could also talk about the basic traits that Houstonians are so proud of. An open door, a lending hand, a mentality that we're a team, we're an extended family. And you see it, you see so many glimpses of it in the pro bono community. You see it tragically after natural disasters or after horrific, devastating losses in the community. But there is something so tremendously open about Houston that I can't help but think that this is maybe the place where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness has manifested itself to a degree that would make the founders proud, not just of my law firm, but also of this country. And you look at the amount of folks who have come to Houston. We bear the title of most diverse city,
right?
Very proudly. I was shocked. I don't know if you saw the latest Kinder Institute poll, and it asked people. It wasn't a multiple choice prompt. It was, what are you most proud of Houston? And I believe the number one answer was diversity.
Right.
Handwritten in, 37% of respondents. You can't campaign for that. You can't inculcate that explicitly. That's something you got to live. That's something that you read that and you can't help but be inspired. And by the way, credit to folks like you and the Houston Business Journal and other people whose business it is to talk about Houston, because I think that you, in the stories that you promote and the news that you tell, you're able to craft a living account of that on a day-to-day basis or on a week-to-week basis as it is. Anyhow, it's hard not to be a proud Houstonian. Let me linger on this for one more second.
Absolutely.
I travel a lot in this job, and I get very fortunate to travel to some of the most incredible destinations, in terms of cities that are big and happening. And you look at these mega global leaders, and if you take a pause and you think, maybe 10, 15 years from now, we're one of them. I mean, we are on a trajectory which feels like there is no end. But it you can close your eyes and you can hear the hum of the traffic and the construction crews, and the signage, and as unfortunate as it might be today, I think it really tells a story of a super exciting tomorrow. So we may well be in what is, I don't know, the second or third inning of a story that gets us to global prominence in a manner that we're preparing for in these very subtle ways. The expansion of the airport, the expansion of the freeways, new freeways, Grand Parkways, more housing of all types, and more businesses. We're certainly seeing it in the volume of work that we're doing at our firm. And I get really giddy about that, because the more people who buy in to the Houston value proposition, I think the more ballast we'll have in our body politic and the more success we will have as a country.
Yeah, well, and talk a little bit about that. So you've had the opportunity, the blessing, to travel to all these global, international cities where international business takes place. Talk a little bit. I'm gonna have you linger a little bit more even on that. Talk a little bit about why Houston still, in comparison with all that, remains the center of gravity for Baker Botts. Why it is still that our pride in being so diverse. How does that prepare you to, one, continue to operate in a global sense, but out of Houston, and why being in Houston is an advantage?
It's a great question. And look, we're in 13 cities globally, and it's not for me to say that that this city somehow is preeminent to those other locations, which may be core to a particular industry too. But that doesn't in any way diminish the significance of what this city is doing. And I think you see that across a breadth of industry that is perhaps unlike any other, where you've had people take risk for so long and often so well, having been very thought out and hopefully together with wise counsel of legal advisors and others. And then you think about a political environment that is user-friendly, responsive, thoughtful, and then you couple it together with, I think, a mentality or esprit de corps that the success of an organization is the success of its individuals and their families and their communities.
Up next, how AI is reshaping legal strategy, client expectations, and the competitive pressure facing Houston businesses.
Helter, president and publisher of the Houston Business Journal. Luxury real estate isn't just about where you live, it's about who you know and how you move. With a presence in key markets across the country and global connections that reach far beyond, Douglas Elliman brings real opportunity to every transaction. Here in Houston, that reach is grounded in deep local expertise. Their agents bring clarity, access, and insight to every decision, giving clients the edge they need in a competitive market. Douglas Elliman, proudly leading you home to Houston.
So Danny, AI is changing just about every industry right now. What does that look like inside a major law firm?
It informs virtually every crack and crevice. And it's just a start.
Right.
So from I can only speak to where we are. There is an external part. We represent a lot of players in the AI space, both folks who are coming up with incredible new ideas and software and hard scrabble born of AI and AI technology, and other folks who are turning to us for the legal piece of trying to integrate more of that technology into their businesses. And then there's an internal piece, which is there is no way that we're going to be caught flat-footed on what might turn out to be the most important revolution of our time. And so we have, for but one example, a AI task force comprised of now almost 100 lawyers who are thinking about these issues, speaking about them. Several of them teach at universities and graduate programs about AI. We are test driving virtually every AI product out there, and we're creating our own. And probably the aspect that I'm proudest of is that some of the youngest folks in our organization are among the most innovative in coming up with new ideas, saving our clients a ton of time and money in developing AI products that really meet a specific legal need. I think that there is a lot of discussion about AI as some sort of replacement for all kinds of professional advisors. Right. Can't think of anything that's further from the truth. To me, it is the ultimate weapon to be brandished in solving some of the most complex multidisciplinary problems of our time. And that, in becoming a weapon to be used by lawyers, is a real career accelerator for our people. Look, what I said earlier, if you're interested in solving a problem, and now I've given you a great tool to go solve a problem, you become 10 times a better counselor and advisor. And questions that we didn't even know how to ask now have answers. It's a beautiful thing. And it's not just for lawyers, it's also true for the scientists,
right?
The doctors, the teachers. And I think that there's a great leveling that is happening, where if you are not part of the AI story, if you are not owning it, then it owns you, and you are shown the door.
You make a very good point as well early. You don't want to be, whatever the industry, caught flat-footed in this, because to your point, every industry, every sector is being impacted, and you want to be a part of that process. So, again, we're years into this conversation now regarding AI. What would you say are some of the bigger opportunities that are out there for use of it? And what are the things that still keep you up at night in regard to, we're not quite treating this with the trepidation that we should?
I don't know that I am staying up at night because
Which is good to hear.
I'm staying up at night. I'm not staying up at night because I'm worried about AI. I'm staying up at night because I'm excited about it. Because I see it as this incredible tool that did not exist when I was in law school.
Right.
I'm also thinking that we've seen in the tip of the spear. I think that AI is a term that's used wantonly, without regard to what it actually is. I think that there is, large language models, which are nice, kind of statistical outputs of incredible cloud-based connectivity. And then there's superintelligence, which, I hope you'll have me back here to talk about in 2 to 3 years. And those are so profoundly different, and yet they're housed in the same little acronym. And that's probably to the detriment of people preparing for what's next. We are a firm that has this outrageous advantage in the marketplace for our incredibly proficient and technically capable intellectual property department. And so we have over 165 lawyers and patent professionals globally who hold something like 200 scientific and technical degrees and more than 20 PhDs. And clients who are deploying AI need lawyers who are both understanding the technology and the law behind it. I was talking recently with one of the real godfathers of the AI industry, and he was sharing with me that this is a super credentialed, incredibly successful gentleman. He shared with me, to my great surprise, that he wished he had a law degree because the number of profoundly impactful legal and ethical issues that AI raises. And I told him, 3 short years and you can have one. For you, 2 years.
Right.
But it's very exciting, and I hope that if there are people who are out there who may be listening, who are deciding on a career right now, that they actually see this as sweetening the proposition rather than souring them on it.
Well, in thinking back, to consultation with clients before AI and now, are there new questions? Are the questions changing that you're asked as a result of living in the era of AI?
100%. And I think of my brother, who is a surgeon out in California, and when being the hypochondriac that I am, I'd always call him, hey, this hurts. Do I need to write a will? He's like, no, I think they call that a cold. But he when WebMD rolled out, and you could kind of make an effort to self-diagnose. I remember when his first reaction to that was, okay, I got to convince my patients that they're actually not in a state of needing palliative care. Right. We can actually this can actually be solved. And then I asked him the question of how WebMD and those kinds of products impacted him, I don't know, about 5 years ago. And he said, actually, I love it now. My patients are, they're asking me great questions. They are really informed. I'm able to dialogue with them on an issue core to their being at a level that I could not have done prior to this innovation being out there. And I'll share with you another view, which is inspired maybe by my own sense of what other industries have been through. I remember when people 10, 15 years ago would talk about rational choice entering their respective fields. And maybe the best example was in trading, where you had a generation, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago now, of people who would kind of lick their thumbs and put it in the air to see which way the wind was blowing, and that would be kind of like how they would trade nat gas or whatever. And then some really smart people, and this is at least how it was explained to me, some very smart people brought in kind of rational choice, and they would develop, thanks to the advent of technology and cloud computing, Excel spreadsheets that were like 1 billion rows and 1 billion columns. Right. And you could put the European model and the U.S. model, and you could get forecasts that could really inform a decidedly arithmetically driven price point, and you could trade around that. Well, the law has been for so many years very resistant to rational choice. But now you can go and figure out what your percentage of likelihood is to win a particular type of legal argument in front of a particular judge. And that begins to feel like rational choice has finally hit the practice of law. It got to a point where Chief Justice Roberts came to Rice in March. I don't know if you...
Oh, yeah. We were there. Yes.
I mean, an incredible Q&A with Judge Rosenthal of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District, former Baker Botts partner. And he said that one aspect, he was saying that he he uses AI with his family but he was worried, it felt like, that an advocate could go before a judge and say, hey, I've plugged in this fact pattern, and 98% of the time where you've got, a dog biting mail carrier when it's raining in the 5300 block of Rice Avenue, you rule in favor of the mail carrier. And it seemed like he was worried that when you have such prescriptive abilities, that you'd almost create a very difficult situation for a judge to find that percent, however small it is, where actually the dog wasn't at fault for biting the mail carrier.
Right.
I would want you to know, as a member of this community, that I believe that the new capabilities that we have are advancing the legal interest. They're not foiling it. They're working out some of the more, the cost profile is being pushed down and reduced. The level of clarity around legal concepts is increasing. These are things we should be rooting for.
Switching gears a little bit to M&As. What feels different about the market right now compared with even 6 or 12 months ago?
Well, volume is up. That's one thing.
Yep.
The deals that are getting done feel bigger, more strategic, more cross-border, and they tend to sit at the intersection of energy, technology, digital infrastructure. That intersection, happily, is where we thrive as a firm. I'd also suggest that is also where Houston thrives. And I don't know if you saw the pod maybe 18 months ago with Mark Zuckerberg, where he said that the limiting factor is not compute. The limiting factor is power. And that is something that Houstonians and Texans know something about. That's a problem we can solve.
After this word from our sponsor, we look at the M&A market and what it reveals about confidence, caution, and growth in Houston right now. You will not want to miss Danny's take on the market.
Success is achieved through effective teamwork, whereby each other's strengths are multiplied.
And the sum is truly greater than its parts. Think 1 + 1 = 3. Withem's talented accounting and advisory professionals add value to every client relationship with our dynamic approach to problem solving.
Delivering exponential results through collaboration and trust. Experience the transformative power of Witham, plus you.
That's the power in the plus.
What do you think about it is about Houston that maybe lends more confidence to business deals that take place here? Again, thinking about M&As, thinking about starting a business, thinking about growing your business. What is it about Houston that gives you the confidence to move in those directions?
We have been very lucky across a variety of spheres: political, community, pro bono, the arts, and the business community, to have leaders who had one eye on the present and another eye on the future. And we have generally not been underserved by those people and the many who are inspired by them.
Absolutely. One final thought from you as far as looking ahead for what lies ahead for Baker Botts, what lies ahead for its intersection with Houston's business leaders?
We have been so fortunate for the last 185 years to be given such an amazing perch from which to contribute to these enormous tectonic plates shifting underneath us. But we don't take that for granted. Past success is no guarantee of future performance, as my corporate lawyers like to say. And so every day, our lawyers are in the lab trying to figure out how to strengthen their skills so that they get to stay on that perch and build that perch and get involved with the work of our clients. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
Wonderful. Well, we very much appreciate you taking the time to join us. That concludes this installment of HBJ On the Record, your spot for candid conversations involving Houston's top business leaders and experts on issues that matter most to you and your business. Thank you again to presenting sponsor Witham and supporting sponsors Douglas Elliman for sponsoring today's podcast. We welcome your feedback, and if you enjoyed what you heard today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, I'm Sean McCrory, and this has been HBJ On the Record, brought to you by the Houston Business Journal.